All right, welcome to a brand new webisode. I'm going to attempt to explain what I did on the air today about how we are dealing with a manufactured civil rights movement here in Southern Arizona. Now, as a bit of a preface to my visual aid, which I'll get into here in just a second, when it comes to the former La Raza Studies program and the Mexican American Studies is what they call it now, ever since John Ward, a former teacher in the classroom, exposed what was going on, there have been many of us in Southern Arizona and in Phoenix as well who have been trying to get the truth out about what's really happening in these classes. The indoctrination going on, the anti-American sentiment, the myths, okay, the fabricated history, the lack of American history being taught because of the La Raza classes could replace American history. Okay, John Ward exposed all this, how the kids were being told that because of the color of their skin, they're being forced to stay in their ghettos at the hands of the white man, that police are using them. The police are an extension of the white man's hand, keeping them in their ghettos, that things like algebra are biased against them because their skin is brown. The kids go in happy, they come out as little activists. It's a recruitment tool. And there are a handful, not a lot, but a handful of individuals who are trying to create the civil rights movement based off of what's been happening in Raza studies. They've been attempting to do this with SB 1070, and I'll illustrate this here in a second. But now they've grabbed onto the La Raza study class struggle, and they're holding on desperately to try to use it to push their Marxist agenda. This is all coming to a head because Mark Stegeman decided that he wanted to try to turn the classes into an elective. Not get rid of the classes, which many of us, like myself, want to see, but to turn it into an elective so it's not a part of the core curriculum anymore. Now, I'm willing to accept that as somebody who looks at the courses and sees them as dangerous and hurting our youth here in Tucson. But I also understand the reality of what we're faced with in terms of politics, and you can't win every battle. But getting it off of the core curriculum, making sure that the students have to take American history as they should, like they do in all the other schools in America, is a step in the right direction. It would not eliminate the course. But that's not what the supporters of the Mexican American Studies, formerly La Raza Studies, would have you believe. They would have you believe that it's going to decimate and destroy the course by making it an elective. They know the truth. That's not what it would do. What it would do is probably force the state's hand and HB 2281 to not have the effect that they're worried it will have in taking 10% of the district's money away. Now, what I mean by that, and what I mean to say, is that the supporters of the Mexican American Studies, they want the controversy. They don't want to see to become an elective because they know that their argument is over. They know the class won't go anywhere, but they also know they don't have the power anymore to be able to use it to push their agenda. But if they keep it from becoming an elective and they keep it as a core curriculum, they know the state is going to lower the boom on them, is going to drop the hammer on the district, which gives them even more power to push their agenda and to create this manufactured civil rights movement. The adults have been using the kids, and I'll get to the graph here in just a second. They did it in the governing board meeting 2 weeks ago when the kids rushed the stage, rushed the TUSD governing board desk and chained themselves to it, pushed security guards out of the way. What did that result in? That resulted in a big police force the following week. And that gave them more momentum to try to push their agenda. Now even the Mexican American Advisory Board won't take part in what TUSD Superintendent John Petticone said he wanted to do in having an open forum to let everybody speak, because the controversy last week was that people weren't allowed to speak. They cut off the public commentary time. So now that they're willing to go and have an open forum to let everybody talk, they still don't want to do it because they know that's one step towards a vote, and they think they're going to lose that vote and it becomes an elective, and therefore they don't have the power to push their civil rights movement anymore. So let's go to the graph here and I'll explain what I'm talking about. So, and I got my cheat sheet here, but I figured I'd use a bigger visual aid. So up here, you have your manufactured civil rights movement at the top of the graph. Okay? Your tree, if you will. Down here, you have your Marxist liberals in Pima County. So how do we get from these individuals, how do they get from here to here? Well, they get there to there through a number of different areas. First off, you got to look at who's been involved and who the players are in all this. So first you pitch off and you look at Isabel Garcia. Okay? So you got Isabel Garcia. Okay? And who is she attached to? Isabel Garcia is attached to the Pima County, right? Pima supers, right? And who do you have there? You have Richard Elias and Chuck Huckleberry, her boss, right? Now, who else is Isabel Garcia attached to? Because she's a Pima County public defender. Chuck Huckleberry is essentially her boss, so to speak. Richard Elias is the Pima County Board of Supervisors, right? He was seen at TUSD during the rally supporting the kids who rioted and rushed the stage. We'll get back to this in a second. But Isabel Garcia is also what? She is also a part of Derechos Humanos. Derechos, I'm spelling it wrong, I apologize, and I don't really care. Humanos, the open border group, right? Okay, so the soups, your Chuck Huckleberry and your Richard Elias are attached to the Marxist liberals here in Pima County as well. All right, so Derechos Humanos, who else are they attached to? Well, they're attached to the SB 1070, anti-SB 1070 movement, right? So when you shoot off from there, you look at another organization that sprung up from that, and that's Soundstrike. Okay? Soundstrike was created as a movement against 1070. Okay? Now, the offshoot of Derechos Humanos, right? Who do you got? You got the organization, the kids group, Unidos, who got funding from who to do their little stunt at the first TUSD board meeting. They got money from Soundstrike. Now, at the same time, you have a video production crew. Pan Left. Right? Now, who does Pan Left work for quite often? They work for Coalition de Derechos Humanos. But you also saw them come to TUSD when it came to the protest that took place last week. Okay? Now, you also have on here, and this is where it's going to get a little bit screwy, you have the Mexican American Studies Advisory Board. Okay? Now, these individuals are made up of the Marxist liberals in Pima County. They're also, Richard Elias is a part of this organization, right? Also, you have TUSD board members, Adelita Grijalva, right? And we'll go ahead and put Judy Burns in here, even though she wasn't listed on the Mexican American Studies Advisory Board. And of course, they're on the TUSD school board. Okay. Now, on this as well, as part of your Marxist liberals in Pima County, who else do you have? Well, you've got Grijalva. RG for argument. Raul Grijalva, right? Who's he attached to? Oh, Adelita Grijalva. Big surprise. Now, at the same time, you've got other offshoots, okay? You've got, over here, you've got local pastors, reverends in the religious community, okay? They are also feeding off of, and I'm running out of lines, the public influence that comes from the Arizona Daily Star. They kind of all fall under that same sort of influence, giving opinions, support, and whatnot. You're not looking at that many people involved in all this. At the same time, who do you get? Well, as a direct offshoot of your liberals in Pima County, you have Pima Dems, Pima County Democratic Party, right? And shock chairman Jeff Rogers. Who was where? Who was at TUSD for the board meeting as well? And right here in the center, right below your civil rights movement, is the Mexican American Studies class and the battle that's going on. And they are all connected to it. So you've got your Marxist liberals here, your offshoots of your Pima County Board of Supervisors, Isabel Garcia, who's the Pima County Public Defender, who's also the co-chair of Derechos Humanos, who's helping to push the kids to do what? To protest the Mexican American Studies, who are a part of TUSD. You have Soundstrike, which is somewhat spawned from Coalition de Derechos Humanos, anti-SB 1070, giving money to Unidos. What do they care about Unidos' struggle in the ethnic studies? They're about SB 1070. It doesn't matter to them. Sure it does, because when you're trying to create the civil rights movement and manufacture it, you need all the help that you can get, because it's gotten bigger than the Mexican American Studies class. At the same time, you end up with Pan-Left Productions that does what? That goes out and films the protests and the meetings that took place at TUSD, where Unidos and other individuals went and made sure that they got in the way of police so they'd be arrested. They get on camera, which provides more fodder to push the agenda of creating your civil rights movement. At the same time, why is Pima County Board of Supervisors involved in all this? Well, he's involved in it because of Adelita Grijalva and Judy Burns, to make sure that they know who is really guiding the ship in all this. And in the meantime, you get your pastors, right, locally, and your reverends in the more liberal churches in town that are sympathetic to Unidos, we'll go all the way back up here, that are writing letters to the editor in the Arizona Daily Star. The Arizona Daily Star is essentially an extension of the Pima County Democratic Party. And all of this influence, and you're not looking at, again, a lot of people. All of this goes to what? The Mexican American Studies class. They lost it with SB 1070. They didn't have it anymore. They didn't have the ability to push their agenda the way they wanted to, even though they continued. But they found something with the Mexican American Studies class and the struggle going on there. So they are all using it, and the children, to go and make sure that they can push their quasi-manufactured civil rights movement. And I guarantee you, if they vote not to make it an elective, and the Arizona State Legislature drops the hammer on TUSD, you're going to see the outrage from all of these individuals hit proportions like you have never, ever seen before. If you look at the graph, this is not anything that is made up, right? This is not made up of a ton of individuals. This is a handful of people that are all going and creating this. It ends up looking like a really, really bad spider web. Because that's what it is. It's a really, really bad spider web. You want to know why? Because if you unravel it, it becomes ineffective. If you have some leadership here at the Mexican American Studies course, and you make it an elective, or get rid of it completely. But essentially, if you make it an elective, all of these begin to drop. Unidos isn't there anymore. Soundstrike isn't supporting them anymore. Coalition de Derechos Humanos goes back to what they normally do. Pan-Left Productions doesn't have anything to do either. The Mexican American Studies Board is gone. Adelita Grijalva and Judy Burns don't have the influence they have anymore. Pima County Democratic Party doesn't have a say in this anymore. The Arizona Daily Star goes back to reporting regular issues and not talking about it anymore. Right? Isabel Garcia becomes irrelevant again. Pima County Board of Supervisors Richard Elias and Chuck Huckleberry go back to their regular jobs. They just, all the pieces drop because they don't have a means to push their movement anymore. That's how you take this whole thing down. No, I don't necessarily agree with most of what Mark Stegeman has to say, but he was on to something and making it an elective. And this is the reason why I supported it. Because at a bare minimum, it takes away the power of this entire structure and reduces it to nothing. They're begging for the state to take away 10% of the funding of TUSD and keeping the courses in place. They're begging for it because they want the controversy, they want the outrage. You make it an elective, and all their power goes away, and you don't hear from them anymore. And you know what else? Most importantly, your manufactured civil rights movement goes bye-bye. Because this isn't about the community outraged and speaking out over some injustice. This is manufactured by all of these individuals. Don't let them fool you. All right, so there you go. Really bad spider web. Hope you enjoyed this new webisode coming up tomorrow. Bye.